What is considered socially unacceptable for no reason? Story 1. Saying no to someone without giving an explanation. I got in trouble in school when on a field trip and the guy running it asked me if I wanted to be in charge of running the snack cart, getting money, etc. during the break. No, thank you. He looked horrified and I got called rude by my teacher. Well, maybe you could have given an explanation just to be polite, but I don't know why he should have been upset just because you said no. Bit of an overreaction. Story 2. Not wanting to hold other people's babies. Just get a drop one. You will never be asked to hold another again. Story 3. Accepting something that someone offered you. This is mostly in the Middle East, I think, but it's really frustrating for foreigners because a foreigner will never know the correct time to accept an offer. If someone offers to buy you dinner, there is a very delicate balance of refusing and accepting. You have to refuse like 4 to 5 times. But if you refuse more than that, you'll also offend the other person. But if you don't refuse it several times adamantly, then you look greedy and selfish. If they fail to offer it insistently for like 4 to 5 times, they'll look like they didn't mean the offer and they aren't generous. A lot of Middle Easterners are shocked when they come to a Western country and they say like, "Hey, let me pay for this." And the other person says, "Okay, thanks." Shocked Picasso face. It takes a while to get used to the fact that Westerners will just take you up on the offer. At first, it feels like Westerners are greedy and they want to take advantage of your generosity, but that's not the case. It's just a different culture and it makes more sense to accept an offer straight up instead of a whole theater production first. But Middle Eastern people need that theater production to feel everyone's being proper and polite. One time, a group of us were in a Middle Eastern country, and in a way to celebrate our friendship, they wanted to put on a show for us. This is when I learned a major difference between Western culture and Arab culture. See, Arabs will keep a show going until their guests leave, and Westerners will stay until the end of the show. So we had two groups of people becoming increasingly frustrated with each other because the Americans won't leave and let us stop performing, was clashing with, "Oh my God, can they just end the show already?" I say, "No, it's okay," once. Then when they insist the second time, I say, "Okay, I'm getting coffee. You want one?" "No, really, I'll grab it. What do you want?" "Okay, thanks. Black, please." I just hate that I have to buy coffee tomorrow for them, and it's a perpetual. It's my turn to buy. I didn't want to spend $6 every other day on coffee, but if I constantly refuse, then I'm the asshole. I also can get free coffee at work, but everyone seems to want to buy their Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever. Personally, I prefer the straight up, say what you mean, and don't drag it out. But again, I have to realize I was brought up in a Western culture. If I was brought up in a Middle Eastern culture, I'd probably understand why it makes sense to offer or refuse several times. Story 4. My dad gets super offended when I put my elbows on the table. I still don't know why. Edit. For those of you wondering if it's because my dad was beaten for not having table manners, no. While my grandpa was drunk, he didn't beat his children. Plus, my dad puts his elbows on the table and doesn't reprimand anyone but me. He flicks or hits my elbows off the table when I do it. I always thought this was a stupid rule that made dining difficult. Therefore, I tended to ignore it depending on the setting. However, one day I put my elbows on a table that had a central pedestal instead of four legs and spilled everyone's drinks. I instantly thought about how that rule makes sense. Now that I know why, but I think the better rule would be don't put your weight on the table until you are certain of its strength and stability. Similarly, don't sit on tables that unfold without making sure they're going to dump you on your ass. Not that I have personal experience with that, of course. No, this person has indeed had personal experience with that. Also, did the dad ever try explaining why he had that rule? Maybe even go so far as to demonstrate it so he was understood and it wasn't just a because I said so kind of reasoning. Story 5. Walking your cat reminds me when some old man yelled at me and wanted to call the cops because cats aren't dogs and you can't walk them. Get a goldfish, put it in a fishbowl, put the fishbowl in a wagon, walk the fish, stare old man in the eyes as you do so. You can try walking your iguana, but he'd probably rather walk on walls and cars. Maybe a pet snail too, if you have a lot of time and patience. Story 6. Being the first person to get up from your chair when snacks are brought into a meeting room, there's always that one hero that does it, though so others can get in line, because I'm scared of looking like I'm starving or like I'm fat. People can see that I'm fat whether I stand up first or not. Edit. Decided to influence my local meteorological condition. Story 7. Eating lunch alone in your car at work. It's quiet, comfortable, and I don't have to make small talk when I'm trying to have some me time out of the office. I don't think that's a bad thing at all, especially when many workplaces don't have very good break rooms or even nice parks you can walk to for lunch. It's like Gary Newman said, "Here in my car, I feel safest of all." I always do that when I work for others, unless it's too hot or too cold, because I like to sit with the window open. Story 8. Napping at work during my lunch break. I don't really need food in the afternoon. What I really need is a nap. Funny part is that I need a nap because of lunch. Story 9. Realizing you're walking the wrong way and then turning around and going back. You just stop walking for a second. Do the thinking motion a la, "Oh, I believe I forgot something," and then turn back. I'm experienced in this. That's one way to do it so you don't feel like an idiot in front of any onlookers. People notice more about us than we often think. Story 10. Playing pretend as an adult without kids involved. There is nothing wrong with an adult man building with Legos and setting up an epic adventure with them that plays out in his head as something amazing. It's escapism and very calming even in adults. It stimulates the mind to have a self-made adventure where everything is what I want. Or man, this is exactly what Dungeons and Dragons is for. It takes 4 to 6 grown-ass dudes sitting around playing pretend, making it socially acceptable. So anyway, an answer to the OP. Middle-aged people playing Dungeons and Dragons. If you're going to sit in the basement pretending to be an elf, you might as well do it with friends. That's another big one. There are people who we perfectly accept as pretenders and even pay them a lot of money for doing well at pretending. We call them actors. Story 11. Not answering your own door. When there's like a salesman at someone's door, they won't want to answer, but they will act like no one is home and be really quiet so the person outside the door doesn't hear them. But it's your house. I could just stare at a salesman out the window as he rings my bell. Who cares? It's my house. I don't have to answer my own door for whatever reason I deem acceptable. You came to my house, not the other way around. My neighbor also came to my house the other day, rang my doorbell, and I was trying to put my son down for a nap, so I didn't go down. But then she messaged my wife and was like, "Hey, your garage is open. I can see someone is home. Why didn't you answer?" So then my wife messages me asking why I didn't answer. What the frick? For whatever reason I choose. I had a good one this time, but maybe I'm asleep. Maybe I'm taking a shower or a shit or in the backyard, or maybe I'm scratching my nuts on the couch. Maybe frick yourself. It's my house. You took your shot to see if I'd answer and I didn't. Move on. Yes, a couple of years ago, I was really bothered with how many times neighbors would come at my door and nag and gossip and ask me questions about other neighbors. Then my mom told me that I don't have to answer the door. Haven't done since and have not been such into other neighbors' drama since. If I'm not expecting someone, I just don't answer the door. The image I got of you staring at the salesman as he waits at the door made me chuckle. I never thought about that. Even during the pandemic, we'll talk to someone through the door or screen or whatever. But it's still pretty rude to just not answer. I still think it's a bit rude to just do nothing, but I think this person has a point that it's his house and he'll answer if he wants or not. Story 12. Pooping in a public bathroom. It's not necessarily unacceptable, but it's something that always elicits a reaction of discomfort and often disapproval. I've definitely heard people loudly exclaim that they could tell someone just took a shit in the bathroom, acting all disgusted. I mean, they didn't shit on the floor. They went to the proper pooping receptacle. It just shouldn't mean anything and shouldn't be worth commenting on. People poop in bathrooms. If you're in a public bathroom and you didn't know it, that's where people poop. Stop acting surprised when a bathroom smells like people did what people do in bathrooms. For a long time, I had poop anxiety over this. Now, I'll let my bowels rip so the whole shopping mall feels my mighty rumble. Story 13. Using swings, playground equipment as an adult. I freaking love going on the swings. I'm 30 and it still fascinates me that I can quickly and easily get 10 to 15 feet or higher in the air with some simple leg movement. One day, I was at a fairly deserted local park on the swings, having the time of my life. Suddenly, Karen shows up with her 2 ankle biters, hands on her hips, and yells at me, "What are you doing there? The swings are for the kids, not adults." My tax dollars paid for these swings, and there's no sign saying that I can't. So I'll use them as much as I damn well please whenever I want. How much tax did little Johannes than little Kimberly pay last year? None. Guess they can't use the swings either. Edit. My poor inbox. Thank you, kind medal giving strangers. Red heart. Some more info. I'm in BC, Canada. The swings were not the crappy weak ones, but had thick chains and rubber seats. I'm sure they were more than capable of holding my 190-pound self. I didn't tell Karen to frick off, but I did tell her to have a nice day. Don't let your inner kid die. Nothing wrong with getting a little high now and then. The Kimberley killed me. How is this unacceptable? I'm in my 40s and still jump off his mother frickers. Swing high, jump high, hope for a soft landing. If this guy was hogging the only swing, I might have sided with the mom, but it sounds like there was more than one swing available. The two kids could have easily taken turns. I'm sure if they were nice, this person might have finished early and let the kids take over. Story 14. Being single. Some people are okay not being in a relationship for some and are perfectly happy, but other people just don't understand that. I sometimes feel like others assume something is wrong with me because I'm not in a relationship, i.e., that no one wants me. I'm the only one in my family and friends group who doesn't have a life partner. Watch Daniel Sloss Jigsaw. He brilliantly and hilariously makes the point that most relationships are bullshit anyway, and it's better to learn to be happy on your own. I think it's a matter of personal choice. There's no shoulds or shouldn'ts. It's about what works for you as an individual. Story 15. Turning down an invitation to go out simply because you'd rather stay home with your pets, save money, and preserve your mental health and glorious solitude. I think this one goes hand in hand with the previous one about being single. I think it's because COVID forced a lot of us to be isolated. We think someone would be crazy to prefer that as a choice all the time. And some people who prefer being alone probably felt cooped up too after being forced to be that way for a while. But as long as we have a choice, I don't think there's anything wrong with some peace and quiet as long as you don't overdo it. Story 16. Saying no. Story 17. Not getting someone a gift when they say they don't want anything. I hate that. I legitimately don't want anything. Don't get me a gift. If you feel bad, get me a card. I save all my cards. My in-laws do this every Christmas. I legitimately don't want anything, so I get weird things instead. Just give away what they give you. What's the use in arguing? Simple solution. Or throw the gifts away. Story 18. Leaving without giving an acceptable song and dance about why you were leaving, with leaving because you have basically reached your limit, with socializing being not a good enough reason. People who can't stand to be around other people for huge amounts of time, more power to you. But me? I can't do that, and I don't want to have to make up an excuse to do so. I've recently started to not give reasons why I'm leaving. Okay, I've got to head out. No one ever asks. But if they did, I'd probably be honest. My social battery is drained and I need to rest. People seem to understand that a lot more nowadays. The Irish exit exists for a reason, my dude. I agree with the fact that people are more accepting of someone reaching their social battery limit. I think that's a valid excuse. I felt that way before. Story 19. Apparently self-defense isn't allowed in schools. I guess I just have to accept the beating. I say it's better to take a school and show the bully who's he messing with than getting abused for the rest of the years at school. Edit. Not to be the guy who gave me silver also put a message I thought you might want to see. You stay strong. A detention punishment is only temporary, while abuse lasts long-ass time. Totally. I wish my parents realized this. Story 20. Going out to eat at a restaurant alone. Like, damn, people. I just want a nice meal that I don't have to cook and want to enjoy a night out by myself. Edit. Change me to meal. Didn't notice the typo until 6,000 of you people decided to blow my phone up. Completely agree. This also reminds me of my favorite quote from the live-action Grinch movie. Dinner plans with myself. I can't cancel that again. That movie has so many great one-liners. Nothing wrong with going out to eat alone. It's very relaxing, actually. Not everyone wants to cook every day. Story 21. Showing distaste for one's family in any way, shape, or form. My aunt and uncle have both tried to drown me. Every time I express my dislike for them, I always hear, "Wow, I guess you're not very family-oriented. That's very heartless of you. I'm sure you don't mean it." I sure as hell mean it. Just because you're in the same family as me, I'm not bound by law to like you or to pretend that I do. Family members can be assholes to you, and people need to understand that. Frick my family. Why is blood so important to some people? You shouldn't be obligated to keep toxic people in your life just because you're biologically related. There are some families that are truly abusive. If someone is not nice towards their family, I think we don't know the whole story behind it. I'm sure there are many good reasons for not liking family than not. Story 22. Refusing generosity. It's perfect or right to politely decline even though others would vilify you for being ungrateful and cold. Edit. I'm pleasantly surprised to hear everyone's perspectives on this. It seems to be different in other countries. The world doesn't seem so small right now. I was raised to always refuse generosity. It's crazy how it varies depending on the country. Same. I was taught that people are only offering to be polite and don't actually want to do what they're offering. This one is super cultural. Story 23. In some places, calling in sick because it's letting down the team or whatever. Frick off. I am sick as a dog. There's little to accomplish other than feeling like death warmed up, so you aren't missing out on much. Plus, I could spread whatever I've got to coworkers, then we're all sick. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind strangers. If I am sick, you shouldn't want me at work because then everyone else will get freaking sick and it ruins productivity in the office. The only possible reason for demanding a doctor's note is if you think, for some reason, I am lying about being sick and considering I'm sick, I'm not going to get one. Because frick you, I'm sick. So what makes you think I'm leaving the house for a stupid bit of paper? And to be clear, I'm not talking about you, the common center. I'm talking about bosses, etc. at work locations. The doctor's no thing is such crap. You can be sick and not need to go to the doctor. Why would you spend the money to go to the doctor for them to tell you to go buy some Mucinex and rest? I was once shamed for missing work for having a miscarriage. Glad to be out of there. This is why we have such a problem with work having such control over our lives. That, and the fact that it costs a fortune to do anything related to health, at least in the US. There shouldn't be a stigma for calling in sick. Story 24. Waking up at 11 a.m. or later. I'm not lazy. My responsibilities are taken care of. I stay up late and value my sleep hours. I stay up until 6 a.m. and wake up at 2. I'm a self-employed artist and I'm most productive at night. Even as a kid, I always stayed up and slept in. People assume I'm lazy, but I'm not productive at all in the morning. So frick that noise. Hey, me too. I never have felt so validated about my fricked up schedule. Everything I make in the morning is garbage and needs to be redone when I have my head on straight in the evening. Story 25. There are a lot of rules around clothing that are completely arbitrary nonsense. And I don't even just mean workplace dress codes and gendered clothing that are obvious bullshit. Even in casual situations. Jeans and a t-shirt are normal, but if you wore flannel pajama pants and a denim shirt, you would look psychotic. That's just an excuse for you to go out to buy groceries in your pajamas, and I respect it. I once saw a big, strong, hairy man walking down the road in a frilly ballet skirt, pink tights, and a girly pink heeled shoes, sandals. An odd sight. But what the heck? Guy wasn't hurting anyone. Story 26. Having fun as an adult. Fun has no expiration date. You don't suddenly no longer qualify for fun and have to live a life of watching the news and drinking coffee. People shame adults for doing fun things in that. Absolute freaking bullshit. Yes, I'm 38 and I enjoyed swings, jumping on trampolines, having a balloon with helium. People look at me like I'm mad or being childish. But when they try it with me, they enjoy it too. I always get my face painted. Royal Adelaide show, like a state fair at my family-friendly events that say they have a face painter. School fundraisers. It's amazing the amount of people that make a big deal out of it. I'm a 28-year-old woman and I get my face painted a big deal. Having more fun than your grumpy ass. Women paint their face with makeup. People hardly bat an eye. Women get a unicorn painted on their face at a fair. Everyone loses their freaking minds. Story 27. Standing on a roof. Sometimes. Why can't I? It's my business if I break my legs. Edit. Nudity is illegal. Of course, I was wearing clothes. Also, no, they didn't think I was committing not aliveness. What's going on here? I feel like there's some deep root tension between you and someone who won't let you stand on your roof. Like, do your neighbors not like it when you stand on your roof? No, they do not. Got the cops called on me even though that makes no sense. Story 28. talking to yourself, not in a crazy way, but just mumbling or thinking out loud. It's a way to let off steam or to kind of listen to your own thoughts and get a better experience on how to act about something. Story 29. Skipping as an adult. It's unfortunate because it is faster than walking and much more fun than running. I had an employee 15 years ago who was walking out of the office the same time I was. He was a middle aged fellow with a couple of kids. He started skipping. I said, Dennis, why are you skipping? He responded, When's the last time you skipped? It feels great. Dennis lived in a better dimension than many of us. Be the change you want to see. I will join you. Never thought of the actual benefits of skipping. It is faster than walking. And don't people like to say, I'll go to such and such. It's just a hop and a skip and a jump away. Might as well actually skip. Story 30. Running everywhere instead of walking. When I see someone running that looks like they shouldn't be, not wearing running gear, I admittedly do assume suspicion. College campus is the one place this doesn't look out of place. Edit. 30 plus people have already commented about airports as well. We get it. Depends where that person is running. There are various good reasons why someone might run other than exercise. Story 31. Laying down in public. Edit. Out of all the replies, nobody has mentioned the way to fix this. A pillow. Simply bust out a pillow and then you get half as many weird looks. Likes to lay. If you lie down on the floor in McDonald's, you get to meet the manager. Context and location is key here. Are you in the middle of the street, in the park on the grass, on a shop floor, or somewhere else people wouldn't generally expect someone to be laying down? Story 32. Hopping on one leg everywhere you go. Thank you. And now we have another third of the hop, skip, and jump statement. Also, if you've never seen the Monty Python sketch about the Ministry of Silly Walks, I highly recommend it. Very relevant to this. Story 33. Talking about the money you make in your salary. I've talked about salary with coworkers a few times in my career. A couple of times I found out I was underpaid. I asked for more money on my next review and was given what I asked for. Sometimes companies overpay new hires when they are desperate for somebody good. The worst thing that can happen is their best, most experienced employees find out about it. Salary secrecy is always beneficial to the company, never to the employee. So true. Someone told me at my old company, giant food multinational, that they were told by HR that they could be terminated or written up for discussing salary. I was livid when I heard that. From what I know, that's actually illegal. And now, some laws are being put in place where when someone offers a job, they have to tell the applicants the salary range. Story 34. According to a recent post on Reddit, apparently it's not okay for a man to show affection towards his son. Also, hats indoors. No one has given me a valid reason why I need to tell students to take their hats off. Can confirm. My dad hasn't hugged me or told me he loves me since I was like 8. Not because he doesn't, it's just like something he never does. So now it's too awkward to start. Story 35. 40 plus male is a playground. Yes, I have no partner. Yes, that's my 6-year-old kid having a blast. No, I'm not a pedo, but thank you for your questions and passive glares. Which one's yours? I don't know yet. Just browsing. Story 36. Wearing a surgical mask when you are sick to prevent giving the illness to others. It's socially acceptable in Japan. It's even encouraged. I wore a surgical mask to school because I was sick. I'm also Japanese who'd lived in the US and got reported to the principal's office immediately. In Thailand, even though the pandemic is over, many locals still wear their masks, simply because they deal with a lot of tourists coming back and they don't want to catch anything. I think the pandemic has changed the conversation about masks in America. Not always for the good, but it's changed it. Story 37. Ladies can call their friends her girlfriends, but a man? Absolutely not. Cannot call his friends his boyfriends. That's not fair. My best buddy refers to me as his heterosexual life mate. That one's okay by me. Let my boys hug and have feelings, damn it. Story 38. Wearing the same clothes 2 days in a row. I'm from the States and I visited Italy when I was a teenager. It was so weird at the time that people there wore the same clothes a few days in a row. But now I think, why not? If the clothes aren't dirty or smelly, they're still good to wear. Wait, that's a thing. I wear my clothes 2-3 days in a row. But then again, I live in Europe where it's cold and I almost don't sweat. Didn't know that was a thing. I do that sometimes, but then I work at home. So if I don't need to go out for anything, it's not a big deal. Who am I putting on new clothes for? Cat? Cat don't care. I know. I've asked her. Story 39. Sometimes I need to adjust my dick. It's unacceptable depending on the location and what you're wearing. It's easier to change the position of your dick when wearing a hoodie. I don't know if that's an issue for most men or if you need different kind of underwear or something. Story 40. I'm a grown man and I love flowers, not even masculine flowers. I have an orchid collection. Story 41. My girlfriend stood backwards in the elevator for the Space Needle, just staring at me because she is super afraid of heights. I knew why, but she looked like a crazy cereal color for sure. What does a crazy cereal color look like exactly? Like puke? Click on one of the videos on the screen now, or Karen will sue you.